Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Legends of Tomorrow. In this episode, it kind of picks up right where the last episode left off with someone, the pilgrim, us getting to see the pilgrim, and she's pointing her gun at someone, and that someone ended up being Rory. No surprise. Mick. The funny thing is, I never refer to him as Rory. I always call him Mick, but you see him in front of the house. I was like, it's on fire. Makes sense. Interestingly enough, you find out in this episode that, that was kind of one of his first experiences with fire. He got so obsessed with the flame, and but he was messing around with it, and it got out of his control, and ended up burning the house down. Sadly, his parents were inside, but he didn't wake them up. He was so scared, he didn't know what to do, but he ran, And, from his conversation with, future Rory, it seems like he always blamed himself for it. Past Rory, future Rory's kind of like, it's not your fault. It's just you were scared, you were a kid, shit happens type of thing, But if I had to say anything, I really like this episode, and I really like the pilgrim. She was like a badass. Not only did it seem like she was bulletproof, because it seemed like they were shooting at her and bullets were just bouncing off of her when she attacked the police station trying to go after Sarah. Also, the fact is she can manipulate time. It's granted in a small vicinity of herself she can manipulate time. Because she first see it when Firestorm tries to hit her, and she froze in midair. It was just she's so badass. And not only is she good with weapons and being able to manipulate time, she can handle her own hand-to-hand combat wise. Because her and Sarah are going at it. I love how she was doing it in front of past Sarah too. I just really liked just the pilgrim. She was just altogether awesome. I really liked their way of explaining why she couldn't, she failed to get, say, Rory, for example, Mick. I'm saying, I'm starting to get into the swing of calling Rory. Say she went after Mick. She couldn't just go back in time a week earlier and get Mick that way. Because basically, it's kind of, she is part of the Time Masters groups. Granted, she just works for them. It's just, but she kind of follows the same code. They try to do as minimum damage to the timeline as they possibly can. And that's why after she picks a specific point in time, she picks the most point in time that when she kills that person, that it causes the least amount of damage. It kind of has the least ripple effects in the timeline. That's why when she does it, goes after them that one time, she doesn't go after them again at a different point in time, because it just, any other point in time would probably be too dangerous and cause mass ramifications throughout the timeline. Got a little bit of a look at everyone's lives a little bit. I love when Kendra and Sarah were there looking at baby Snart, and they just got so swept up. They're just oh, he's so cute and adorable. It's weird seeing Sarah like that, because we see her as the badass assassin, and just seeing that side of her, just getting oh, and so he's so cute and adorable. Little troublemaker. It's so weird to see her like that. I just love the fact that her and Kendra are kind of going all goo goo gaga. It's just oh, cute baby, And that's an interesting relationship. I love the fact is that relationship has been growing more and more. Because out of anybody in the group, other than Ray, Sarah's the only other person that Kendra kind of talks to, so I think that's kind of interesting how that relationship is developing, that friendship is bonding. I love the fact is when you see them training it, Sarah's kind of either you're getting better or I'm getting sloppier. And you also got to, look at Jack's life too, because, he didn't really know his dad, because his dad, shipped off before he was born. Well, actually, right around the time he was born, his dad saw him get born, saw him, and, got shipped off, and sadly died 2 weeks after he was born. So Jackson never really got to know his dad. I really like the fact that Stein set it up. He was go ahead and talk to your dad, get to know him, Because Stein did it. I love that too, because Stein, he kind of treats Jax like a son, he does whatever he can to try and help him, and I really love that. He does whatever he can to try and finding that out about Jax, because he brought it up. He's like, how interesting it is to see our babies, like our baby cells, get kind of be able to see what our parents saw when they saw us being born. But I did love Hunter being like, yeah, nobody might want to, interact with any version of themselves. You might not want to hold your baby version of yourself, like, paradox stuff. So it's like, what would happen? I feel like you'd probably end up exploding or something, or disintegrating, which interestingly enough, we actually saw what it looks like when someone's, past self is killed, and what happens to the present body. Essentially, they turn into like white, like bluish white particles and just dissipate. I was like, wow. Because we saw the Time Masters do it at the beginning of the episode. It was, the Pilgrim had killed someone, that they had found guilty, and, that being a punishment. But that was really touching with Jax, and his dad, because it's like, I really like the fact that Jax, he was going to do that typical time traveler thing. It's like you have future knowledge, and he was going to go like, yo, dad, like, be careful, while you're out there, keep your head low because you're going to die. At first, he doesn't say anything. He's like, I just want to say congratulations. It's like, part of me was worried about it. I was like, oh, Jax, if you do that, this is going to cause ramifications later on. That's just going to cause problems. It's going to turn up into a whole time issue. But he didn't. So I was like, oh, I guess he's not going to. And you kind of see him breaking down later on in the episode. He was crying, and Stein came across him. It's because he was like, I should have told my dad, kind of screw the consequences. It's like, I had the opportunity to save my dad's life, but I didn't. It sucks. Granted, he does tell his dad later on. And he even goes to Hunter and tells him, like, yo, I did that. And Rip's kind of like, it's, typically that'd be a problem, but Rip's like, you know what? Maybe time wants you to have a relationship with your dad. So what you did may not have been a bad thing. Maybe it's the thing that needed to be done, And I don't know. It'd be kind of nice if Jack's dad did survive, and he was there for Jax throughout his life. But it's like, really won't know because, it takes time a little while to kind of straighten itself out, kind of accept the new changes and keep them cemented in. Then we also found out a little bit more about Rip. We found out his real name is Michael. Essentially, we meet his adopted mom. Essentially, all Time Masters were orphans, and they're basically brought up in this single place. Because they basically, I think, was it like they pick up orphans all over the place, I think all throughout time, I think was what it was. And, because Snart had constantly was bringing it up in the episode. He's like, oh, great, we're all being hunted down, but what about you, Because Rip has never said anything about his past up until now. Because Kendra is safe because it's like, well, killing her in her past won't do anything because all that do is she'll end up popping up, later. She'll reincarnate. So it's like there's literally no point to it. And killing Rip won't do anything because as a time master, her influence, her killing him will have ramifications on the timeline too, big ramifications. Because I guess it's because it's like the Time Masters do a lot of stuff and they interfere with do a lot of stuff, connected to time, obviously. So any influences or things that they change or do connected to time will probably be undone if they die. So it'll have large scale ramifications. Because we don't never get a good scale of what it's like for Time Masters, like what exact impact they have, like what exactly they do. I brought this up last episode, wasn't it? That you don't never know exactly what they do. They can only, they protect the timeline, but like, what does that really entail? Sarah had a chance to kind of talk to her dad. I mean, granted, they gave him something to kind of make him forget everything he learned. Because everyone's kind of changing some things. Like I said, Jax did with his dad. We also had Rory kind of talking, like I said, telling his younger self that it wasn't his fault, trying to prevent him from being, he's like, basically, don't turn into me. You can't make up for the things that you've done, but you can, pave the future. It's like, you made mistakes in the past, that's okay. You can't change that, but you can change who you will become in the future. He's like, so don't become me. Be better than me. And I like Stein's conversation with Ray, because he was just like, I can't believe my dad just handed me over to a whole bunch of strangers. And Ray was like, well, it's the 50s. It was a different time. That is kind of interesting. Like, some people, random people walk up and be like, oh, yeah, we're an ambulance. We'll take your child to the hospital. Follow us. It's like, and you just willingly give him your child, and you're just like, oh, well, that's that. But basically, eventually, because they were being hunted by the Pilgrim, they ended up getting Jax when he was a baby, Snart, and Stein, because if they protect them as babies, doesn't matter what she does in the alternate, like, if she comes after them at any other point in time, it wouldn't have any effect because, they have the past selves. So all they have to do is keep their those past three protected. Literally everyone's past versions protected, and that, specifically those three because they're babies at this point. So, I know I'm not explaining it well. You pretty much understood it. I don't know why I'm overcomplicating things, but then she basically kidnapped people connected to everyone. Stein's wife, Ray's fiance, Jack's dad. And I really liked the fight because basically had everyone go at her at once, and she's freezing time trying to keep everyone in track. I was like, how are they gonna fight her? Because I was like so sure. Because I was under the impression I was gonna be like, okay, maybe her powers have a limit. Maybe there's only so much time she can stop at once. And I just loved that she froze everyone. Everyone's attacking her all at once, but she didn't see a little Hunter, Rip, Michael, come up. He stabs her in the leg. She loses her concentration. Everyone's attacks hit. She disintegrates and turns into dust. I was like, oh, which I'm kind of sad about. It's kind of like, oh, I really like this enemy, but we'll never see her again now. But just granted, it kind of makes sense because it's like if we don't deal with her now, she's going to just keep hunting. There's no way, like, it's not typical bad guy stuff where it's like, oh, kind of like, your typical villain of the week where it's like, oh, you've taken care of them now, but they'll pop up later on. So it's like, yeah, she had to be dealt with. And you also find out that, because Rip kind of explains it, that the reason why he was able to, his little kid, the little kid him was able to do something like that is because he wasn't really that trustworthy. He kind of makes it sound like he was a bit of a thief, like he kind of did whatever he needed to survive. Granted, he was an orphan, so he kind of learned how to live by his own regards, kind of live his own way. And he's like, he basically explained that he had that knife because he was ready to use it on the lady that's his adopted mom. He's willing to use it on her at any point in time if she did something to him, if she did something he didn't like. So, and he talks about the fact is that he tries his best to forget his past. I guess that's why he doesn't bring it up at all. That's why he doesn't talk about it, because I guess he wants, probably, there's no telling exactly what he did before he ended up there, where he was brought up to be trained to be a, time master. So also in this episode, we had the whole Kendra situation. She eventually told Ray about, finding out about the whole relationship thing. Because Ray was dying, she ended up kind of saying yes to being engaged to him. But it's like, honestly, she wasn't 100% set on it because it's like she never really thought about marriage, even babies and stuff like that. It was kind of a little too much too soon. And it kind of got you thinking, because it's like the whole Carter situation, finally telling him that. And it's like, you can see it kind of breaks Ray's heart. I won't lie to you. Part of my brain was like, yeah, it is a little crazy for you to be accepting, like, being engaged. It's like marrying him. It's like, y'all haven't even been dating that long. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Y'all spent 2 years together. I forgot about that. I completely let that slip my mind. It's like, okay, really it shouldn't matter, no matter how much time someone's, passed between people. If you feel that the time is right, then the time is right. I shouldn't be so judgmental about it, but I did forget that they were living together and dating, pretending to be husband and wife, back in the 50s. So it's like, and one of my another favorite point in this episode was when everyone was going around being like, oh, the people that, because they were removed from time, that basically if they were going for too long, people would forget about them. And Jax is like my mom, Stein is like his wife, and Mick's like, yeah, he's like, oh yeah, that's right, I don't have anybody. And I also love when he was talking to his younger self, because basically he's having him and young Sarah look after the babies, kind of babysitting. And he was like, if you, like, basically don't let anything happen to baby Snarp, because if something happens to my future partner, I'm gonna come back and deal with you. It's just like, wow. Really nice episode. We ended up with them saying that basically now they're going to go hit Savage at the height of his power, like the most dangerous time to go after him. Because essentially, Rip has always said never to go after him at that point in time, but Rip's like, time is, like forming itself, with their past selves removed from time. Eventually it's going to set it and everyone's going to forget them, because currently, Stein's wife she doesn't remember him, so eventually it's going to be like that for everyone else. So the sooner they deal with Savage, the sooner he can return, everyone's past selves to their time. Because something interesting Stein brought up in this episode was the fact is that he never actually said goodbye to his wife, because he always figures like, hey, I can always pop back into 2016 right when I left off, so it'd be like I wasn't going at all. She wouldn't know the difference, but he's kind of worried now, because he's like, what if I never get that chance to say goodbye, now that she doesn't remember who he is? And, Rip is like, I've kind of put you all in a position where you have to sacrifice yourselves, sacrifice the people that you care about too, on my mission. I'm not going to let you sacrifice your lives for me trying to get back my wife and son, so. But overall, a very awesome episode. I really liked it. But that's really all I want to talk about this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.